Here in this video we will explore the possibilities and impossibilities of intergalactic travel in the sci-fi settings of Star Trek, Star Wars, 40K and Dune, and also explain why it's almost never heard of in any of these stories, at least in these fictional universes. Let's get to it. We begin here with Star Trek. Intergalactic travel here is shown as almost impossible because of how space and technology work in this setting. The Milky Way galaxy is already unbelievably huge, and even with warp drives, it can take centuries or millennia to cross it. Traveling to another galaxy would be much longer, often longer than multiple human lifetimes, unless a ship uses special methods like sleeper ships or crews that do not age. Star Trek does show rare exceptions such as powerful beings like the Q or one-time accidents, but these are not technologies Starfleet can use or control safely. Other advanced ideas like traveling at warp 10 are shown to be dangerous, turning people into strange life forms or at the most getting them lost forever with no way of getting them back. Or they just travel in time, which proves that pushing warp speed too far breaks the laws of nature in the Star Trek universe. Even newer technologies like spore drives or the protodrive have strict limits and cannot be used freely across galaxies. From the writer's point of view, keeping Star Trek inside one galaxy is very important for telling good stories. Different distances inside the Milky Way allow for many types of adventures like safe missions near Earth, dangerous patrols at the edge of the Federation space, or long lonely journeys far from home like Voyager. If ships could easily travel between galaxies, these interstellar distances lose meaning. A trip across the galaxy would feel just as small as flying between planets, making danger, isolation and time pressure much harder to explain. Saying we are trapped in another galaxy immediately feels serious and hopeless to viewers, while saying we are very far away inside a universe would not really feel the same or have that much of an impact. There is also the problem of realism and exploration. In Star Trek, ships constantly encounter strange worlds, alien ships and space dangers while traveling around. This already stretches believability, but most viewers accept it because stars inside a galaxy feel a little bit close together, even though they're really far apart. Intergalactic space, however, is almost mostly empty, with vast stretches of nothing for millions of light years. If the Enterprise, for example, routinely traveled between galaxies, it would make no sense for it to keep running into interesting events along the way. By limiting travel inside the Milky Way, Star Trek keeps space feeling big, dangerous and mysterious, while still full of life and stories. This balance makes intergalactic travel impractical not just in the universe of Star Trek, but also for the kind of meaningful, exciting and storytelling the series is known for. Now let's go to Star Wars. So here intergalactic travel is theoretically possible, but it is almost never done because it is extremely impractical, dangerous and resource draining. Most ships use hyperdrives which jump into hyperspace by locking onto gravity from stars and planets or other kinds of huge celestial bodies. Before jumping, a navigation computer, a navicom, must calculate a safe route. This is essential to avoid mass shadows, the presence of stars, planets or black holes in normal space that are reflected in hyperspace. Inside the galaxy far away, this works well because there are many stars and mapped hyperspace lanes to guide ships safely. Outside the galaxy, however, space is mostly empty, with no strong gravity wells to lock onto, and here hyperspace navigation becomes unreliable and impossible. This is why even powerful civilizations struggle to aim or sustain hyperspace travel beyond the galactic edge. Another major problem is time and resource. Even if a ship could leave the galaxy, the distance between galaxies are enormous. A journey like this would take thousands of years, far longer than normal crews could survive. Ships would run out of fuel, food, spare parts, and even hope long before reaching another galaxy. This is why the Yuuzhan Vong in Legends had to use generation ships, bioships, where many generations lived and died during the voyage. See, most galactic ships are simply not built for that kind of long-term survival, and the Outbound Flight project showed that even massive fleets with no special engines were vulnerable before they could even leave the galaxy at all. There are also environmental dangers beyond the galaxy that make travel even worse. Legends describe a kind of energy or gravity barrier surrounding the galaxy, plus strange space hazards like geomagnetic storms and distorted hyperspace conditions. Many explorers who try to cross intergalactic space never return, leaving only broken warning signals behind. From a storytelling point of view, keeping Star Wars almost mostly inside one galaxy, makes kinda a lot of sense. It allows frequent encounters, wars, trade routes, and fast-paced adventures, so while intergalactic travel is not forbidden by technology in Star Wars, it is avoided hugely because it is slow, risky, costly, and offers very little reward compared to staying within a rich and crowded galaxy. However, there are strange and special cases where ships or species reach nearby dwarf or satellite galaxies that orbit one another or close to the main Star Wars galaxy. One example is Companion Besh, a small satellite galaxy that circles the main one. Because it is relatively close, it is technically outside the main galaxy but not separated by vast emptiness between major galaxies. Another odd region is the Rishi Maze, which is a dwarf satellite galaxy or a star cluster located just beyond the galactic disk. It appears in Attack of the Clones and it is often mistaken for deep intergalactic space, even though it's more like a nearby cosmic neighbor. There are also species and locations tied to these near-galactic regions. Camino is one strange case. While it is officially inside the galaxy, it is so remote or located near the Rishi Maze and hidden from most star charts that many people consider it extragalactic. And the only evidence of intergalactic travel, like proper documented one, is that of the Yuuzhan Vong, which use large world ships to travel between galaxies. Anyway, now we come to Warhammer 40K. In this setting, the grimdark setting, intergalactic travel is almost impossible because the distances are unbelievably huge and the warp is extremely dangerous. Even normal warp travel inside the Milky Way is risky, slow, and unpredictable. Ships rely on warp currents, the astronomical and stable routes to avoid being lost. They also have to have very good navigators. Outside the galaxy, none of these guides exist. There is no astronomical light to follow. Warp storms are worse and navigation becomes nearly blind. A ship thrown off course by a warp storm might accidentally emerge beyond the galaxy, but that is never planned or almost always fatal. Because the space between galaxies is so empty and vast, even advanced warp jumps cannot reliably cross it without running out of time, fuel, or just being lost forever. Another major problem is that nothing is known about what exists beyond the Milky Way, and that uncertainty makes exploration suicidal. The Imperium has no colonies, no supply lines, and no safe routes outside of the galaxy. Expeditions have tried to go beyond the rim, and they've never returned, and those that did brought back only fragments, warnings of madness, or even sounds of orkiness outside in the vast intergalactic space. Even powerful beings like the Silent King of the Necrons travel into intergalactic space alone or with his own retinue, and he never reported clearly what he saw. But what is only known is that he returned back because there is nothing much to do there. What little is known suggests terrible dangers, maybe dormant Tyranid hive fleets drifting in the darkness, also maybe vast void monsters and possibly warp entities that exist even outside the galactic space. Without allies, resupply or rescue, any Imperial force would be doomed the moment something went wrong, which in Warhammer 40K kinda always does. Finally, even escaping the galaxy would not mean really much, or might not even mean escaping its horrors. The Eldar believe that chaos gods like Slanesh would follow them anywhere, even to another galaxy if they even went there, because the warp is tied to thought and emotions, not location. This means that leaving the Milky Way does not free anyone from chaos, demons, or corruption. Stories like the Lost Company of Svenga the Red also shows how dangerous the unknown beyond the galaxy truly is. Strange worlds, false safety, and civilizations that are not what they seem. From a storytelling and lore perspective, Games Workshop keeps other galaxies mysterious on purpose. The Milky Way alone already contains endless war, monsters, and secrets. Making intergalactic travel common would weaken the grim reality of Warhammer 40K, where humanity is trapped, surrounded, and barely surviving in a hostile universe with no safe place left to run. And in one other radical opinion, maybe because the warp is a reflection of real space and of the souls within the galaxy of real space, the void of intergalactic space presents no possibility of souls present there, and thus may not even exist. Maybe the warp doesn't exist there or extend to reflect the emptiness of intergalactic space, or maybe it hasn't expanded there yet to include those regions, and thus intergalactic warp travel would be impossible. And we end here with one of the OG space sci-fi settings, and that is Frank Herbert's Dune universe. Space travel here is advanced but very tightly limited. There are two main kinds of travel. The most important is faster-than-light space folding used by the Spacing Guild. Guild ships do not fly through space in the normal way. Instead, they fold space, bringing the destination to the ship instantly. This is made possible by what's called the Holtzman effect, and guided by Guild navigators who use massive amounts of the spice melange to see into the future just enough to avoid deadly mistakes. This makes space travel extremely expensive and rare, and it gave the Spacing Guild almost total control over all interstellar movement. The second method is older, conventional FTL travel, sometimes described as outracing photons. This type of travel is much slower than space folding but still far faster than light. It was mainly used inside a star system, though in the distant past it could handle interstellar journeys. Even at its best, this method was limited. For example, in the Butlerian Jihad, fleets traveling at maximum speed took over a month to cross about 130 light years, which means speeds of roughly 1000 to 1500 times the speed of light. That sounds incredibly fast, but on a galactic scale, it is actually very slow. And with the Holtzman effect, the highliners, which can deliver instant transportation, you can see the point, it's actually very slow, comparatively. So thus, the Milky Way alone is about 100,000 light years wide, and the nearest major galaxy is millions of light years away. At those speeds, traveling to another galaxy would take thousands to millions of years, far longer than any human civilization could manage. Because of these limits, intergalactic travel is effectively impossible in Dune. Space folding might seem like a solution, but it depends on precise knowledge of the destination and safe paths through folded space. Other galaxies are too distant, poorly mapped, and full of unknown dangers for navigators to predict safely. Even the Ixion navigation machines, which later reduced dependence on navigators, still relied on known space and established limits. As a result, all human civilization in Dune remains confined to this single galaxy. The technology is powerful, but the combination of danger, dependence on spice melange, extreme cost, and sheer cosmic distance makes travel beyond the Milky Way galaxy in Dune impractical and almost unthinkable. Now with that, we come to the end of this video. Do hit that like button for support, and also for the ones holding their phones in their hands, well, hit the hype option to push this content further. Subscribe also to be a part of Legion Notebook, and till the next time, take care, boys.